And so with that process, you're just saying that in general, you just want to train other women to do home births, or this is just part of your journey?
I'm saying that it's part of my journey.
Got
And it's been a deep dive into those arts.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. You know, my story is still unfolding. Yeah. But I love talking about it. And if any sisters, you know, wanting support, I will certainly, you know, and I have done a few consultations.
Do you have
and
like a
I love
doctor
doing
there
that.
when you're doing it?
No. So the midwife is your doctor.
The midwife is the doctor.
Yeah, the
Got
midwife
it.
is the doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. And
Yeah.
they're just checking out everything. Yeah. I mean, I've heard from women in the conscious community how it is significantly less traumatic for the child, because there are traumas that stem from the moment you're born. And so the way you give birth has a huge effect. And I heard like a C-section is like energetically not good for the child. And just like even like you being hopped up on epidurals is not good for your child, because then that also gets into their bloodstream and all this stuff. And you're also like kind of dissociating from the birth itself when you're getting hopped up on painkillers. And so I mean, like, I don't know if I'm saying anything that sounds wrong or if that all sounds correct. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Ideally.
Yeah.
Yeah. If, you know, the woman is fully equipped.
Yeah.
You know, her body is
you have everything you
designed
need.
for this, right? And the body produces, the perfect array of, you know, what am I saying? Medicines, you know, that the mom needs and that the baby needs. So yeah, I think it's more of the, you know, being in the right mental frame, having the support that you need. There's a lot of, you know, repatterning and unlearning, you know, to not be afraid of the birthing process, that it can be a wild and ecstatic, amazing psychedelic experience.
Did you do a home birth?
No.
You went to the hospital? Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to call you out. Yeah.
I went to the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just wondering. I don't know a lot of women that have done home births. I know my brother, his wife did a home birth recently, too, but her first child, she went to the hospital.
Yeah. I would say there's no wrong way to do it, and just the most important that the mom is making the choice that makes her feel the most supported and well. Yeah.
I'm definitely done with children, but
And how many children do you have?
one.
Okay.
But I do, like, it'd be interesting, this version of myself, what I would be open to. But I think, like, women were so disconnected from our bodies, you know? And so I think, like, to be able to do that and to know that, like, we are so equipped for this, and to not listen to, like, what other people are saying. Because I remember even being in the hospital, like, a lot of projections from the doctors and, like, where they thought I was at and, like, what my pain level was at. And it's just, like, an interesting process that I actually hadn't thought about much until you're talking about it right now today.
Yeah. Well, I'm starting just with my childhood to say that I had designed, you know, to be very comfortable with being an earth goddess mama, you know, just free to, you know, birth at home and trust my body to move and dance and feel and scream or whatever, you know, I needed, you know.
Don't you guys feel that from Scarlet? Like earth goddess
Oh, gosh,
vibe?
yes. Yeah, beyond a doubt.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then from from home birthing
To
to homeschooling.
Yeah, but I mean, like, sorry, and I just, like, don't you feel like the kids are missing out on interactions with other children by doing homeschooling?
Oh my gosh, no. That could be true if a homeschool family just, like, doesn't have friends or doesn't go out or does, you know.
Got it.
But I'm a, you know, very social being, and I love my community. So our community and being in tribe is absolutely one of the main elements of my curriculum, right? So we've always had amazing friends and other families who also homeschool, or at least we love, and we, you know, get together, we go on field trips, or we, you know, have parties, gatherings, you know, so we've always had an amazing social.
So I guess I'm trying to imagine what homeschooling is, because I've never done it. So are you, like, sitting there with a book, literally teaching them like a teacher, or they do like an online course? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah. Well, so there's so much freedom. There's freedom in all of these arts, right?
Yeah.
There's freedom to do. And I think I love it so much and so empowering, because the point is that you do it in your own way. You do it the way that you choose to, that works for you, right? So, oh my gosh, homeschool can be done in so many different ways. I think there's one big initiation that happens in the beginning. And when I talk to other parents or families who are considering homeschooling, that's the first thing I'll offer. Because all of those questions come up. And then just like any of this other stuff we're talking about, being on the healing journey, there's going to be voices and pressures and expectations, or like people literally judging you, coming into your field, or you're thinking, oh, it has to look a certain way, I have to keep up, or they have to be reading and writing versus, you could do it that way and be totally stressed out, but there's no point, or there's no reason to do it that way. So our homeschool has absolutely evolved, and it's been a learning process. It's been an unlearning process, So once I got past that initial initiation period, then I really started having fun with it, because I realized, no, it doesn't have to look a certain way. No, they don't have to be reading and writing by a certain age. Like, no one's checking on me, there was some educating the family that these sort of concerns might have come up because they're not understanding it's different, right? It's outside of, it's like breaking the matrix of what they understood as the way that we do things, right?
Yeah. It also just sounds like so much more work.
It sounds like more work. Well,
Yeah.
I'm grateful to be able for it to be my full-time work, so I don't have to be stretched and pulled in other directions to feel like I have to squeeze it in. So I can just hold the whole container with all of my love and my time and my creative genius to design this. And it is like it can be like a juggling act, and we're talking about years now, right? It's been almost 12 years that I've been studying and practicing homeschool, and then with multiple ages too. So I need to be resilient and flexible and let it evolve and grow and change, be like light on my toes with it. But because children are constantly growing and changing, it's like
evolving.
It's cool. I love it so much because it keeps me on my toes, and I can be like, I can expand. I mean, just having more than one child, my heart has expanded, my capacity for loving has expanded, my capacity for all of these homemaking arts that I'm talking about, is growing and expanding. I love what it looks like today, but it's looked in all these different ways. I think my favorite thing to do is let it be a lot child-led, so I can really get to know who each of these individuals are and what they love, and then weave that into the curriculum. And then the stuff that you think of school, like math and reading and writing and stuff, those aren't at the forefront, but they're constantly being woven in because they're basic kind of skills that work through all of the other learning that we're doing. And then we have the time and the space to go out, to travel, to
What do you mean by like
camp,
woven in? Do you not like have a set curriculum for like math and reading all that, or is it no? Okay.
Yeah,
So how
we
do
don't.
you just figure out how to weave it in?
Yeah, so what I emphasize is just the flow of the day. So we'll start our day and just, we don't, I love that we don't have to get up super early. I don't have to pack lunches. I don't have to drive, be in the car. So we can just sleep as long as our body needs to sleep, and then get up and have a slow start to the day, which I love. So we'll have our morning tea and our breakfast, and then we'll have about a 2-hour period of time where it's more focused work. And it's a bunch of stuff, and it's a lot of art. It's a lot of art. It's a lot of reading and storytelling, and then writing, the stories. So those basic skills just, we require reading and writing, and numbers come up all the time. And that I've especially loved to do now in the Fit for Service container is bring what's really alive for me and my practices, whether it be breath work, dancing, dream work, anything that's alive for me in this container, and weave that into the homeschool curriculum. So it really, there's such connection and there's such cohesion. And I feel like we're growing these just beautiful, whole, well-rounded, capable. They love to learn, They love people. They love going out. They love traveling.
Yeah.
So it's very different than if I imagine like sending them away and we're apart for however long. They're picking up a lot of culture other families' culture, just stuff, you know, from school, and then bringing them. It feels to me, I wouldn't have it any other way. You know, this feels actually easier for me to do it this way than the other. You know. Yeah. And then homemaking is just kind of a no-brainer. Obviously, we have to be cleaning and cooking, and I love making beautiful spaces.
Yeah. So I guess a lot of things are just coming up for me when I hear you talk about this, right? I'm wondering, like, did the structure that I had going to like a private Catholic school and having a very rigorous like amount of schooling every single day, would I have become the person that I am today in that situation? Or maybe would I have flourished more if I was in a homeschooling situation where I had the freedom to be myself more? Because like as I become more and more successful and I am becoming more and more in alignment with myself, a lot of the principles that you discuss are like where I'm at as a person. Like, you know, I don't go to bed at a standard time. I get up when I feel that I'm rested and I'm ready to go. I learn about what I want when I want. And the more that I'm doing these things, the more everything in my life is getting better. But I also then think about like the discipline and the structure of schooling and just like that rigorousness. Would I be as like financially successful if I didn't have that discipline and the interactions of like going to school and needing to be up at those times and needing to be part of those, of like the same schedule, the timing, showing up for stuff the right way. So like it's just a lot of stuff is just going through my mind as you're talking, because I'm like imagining this entire alternate reality, which probably already exists, where where I was homeschooled and I was able to be free and like do those things. And I'm wondering if like people like Elon Musk or like, you know, Jeff Bezos or those people, like what kind of schooling did they have? How did they get raised? And are these people that are outliers, were they homeschooled and did they go through these journeys, or did they go through a journey that was similar to mine? So a lot of stuff is just coming up for me as you're talking.
Yeah, I think it all serves us.
Yeah.
I mean, it all serves us.
Well, I think I think that's like, it feels like that's like two different things, because you're talking about a game that can be won, and you're like winning it right now. And like you talk about Elon winning it, right? Yeah. But then for some of it, like at what cost, you know? And I think it's interesting. It's like, feels like you're like, oh, I'm in a place now where I'm like reclaiming my, and I'm, you know, but like, could younger you have been that? Sure. Would he have been good at this game? I don't know. They feel like really two different things, you know?
Yeah, but it's also like maybe two different types of happiness also. And it's like I didn't feel happy most of my youth. Your kids and you probably feel happy every single day. So it's like at the cost of what are the benefits or what are the negatives. So it's like yours is probably the correct answer, right? Because you're feeling better every single day, and that's really what matters. So yeah.
And I think about Logan, my daughter. Like Logan is in kindergarten, and I think about just like obviously don't homeschool her, and I like love my career and like all these different things, but I think it's interesting, like, and Kelly Brogan talked about this at our first summit, but like kids are taught to like raise their hand, can I go to the bathroom? So it's already like, I'm disconnected from my body, you get to give me permission. And then all the memorization Logan's doing, and they're teaching you like, our system is teaching us like obedience from the jump, right? Like from the very jump, it's like you follow these rules and you will get this grade, and then you're gonna be okay. And it's so different than how you're raising your
we're
kids.
learning to be in a 9 to 5, going to school, literally learning how to do a job. Wake up at this time, you get a break at this time, you get 10-minute break.
Conformity.
I do employment law too, so it's like it's literally segmented the same way that we run our normal lives, or many people run their normal lives. But
my partner and I were just very clear that we're ready to shift the paradigm. Yeah. And so we're doing it in the way that we're doing home and raising the kids. Yeah.
My brother's doing it the same way you are in all aspects. So like he's the same way. So I have a lot of respect for him too. Yeah. But it's also a lot more work. And so that comes back to, what do you have the time and energetic capacity for?
I think when like if the new earth, the new earth vision is for us to like really be living in tribe, and then it's like, oh, then this actually, it's so easy, like, because we have earth goddesses that are able to do this and like support, and like we all can use our skills and our medicine in their own way, you know. But I think we're so isolated with our like single family home, and like we're, you know, far away from our people, like even you guys like flew here today, like and then it's like, man, it's just like it's like this solo mission, and I don't think we're meant to do that. And I don't know, I'm just like very inspired by what you're creating, Scarlet, and the way that you're showing up as a mother. And I think it's even if people, even me here as a mom, can make a couple shifts with Logan from hearing you today, it's like makes a big impact.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love imagining our tribe
Yeah.
in flow state, flow,
Yes.
where it all, the pieces fit together and we can feel really supported and
We're going
nourished.
there.
We
Yeah.
are. We're
Going
going
there.
there. Yeah,
There
absolutely.
needs to be a commune.
You
I'm
were
just
going to say
telling you.
something about 2 minutes ago. Forgot? No worries. I was just following back up.
Yeah, thank you.
No worries. I like to follow,
Yeah.
make sure that we follow all the
The
threads.
threads,
Yeah.
yeah.
'cause you
Well, I
never know
think,
when you're
I- yeah.
and maybe what it was, a thought that's been reoccurring as you were speaking is, first off, I applaud you in what you're doing. My youngest grandson's 9, and he's
Yeah.
not fitting in well at school. And I think the system itself is built, large classrooms. I mean, it's just the way that it is. And it's hard for teachers to, some kids learn individually different, and the system is set up for the mass. And so when you've got the outlier kid that isn't doing well learning in that system, they don't handle it well. And I will say that my grandsons, the staff at the school are doing a beautiful job at kind of rallying around and finding what works for Christopher. But it's been a struggle. My daughter, Christopher's mom, has really had to be present, and hats off to her for doing that. But and I was thinking how well I would have thrived in a homeschool, because the entire home life would have been different if somebody would have had that presence and that much contact to say, I'm going to spend this much time with you. So many things would have been different, and it's hypothetical. I don't know how life would have been. I can only imagine, but I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. So I'll take it.
And what you said about Christopher's mom is like so spot on. Of like you do have to advocate and be in the trenches.
Man,
like
yes.
Logan and TK
Yep.
last year, she got like, she was wasn't listening. Whatever, she was like, and got on timeout during recess. I'm like, my kid is a high energy girl. Like, do you realize putting her on timeout during recess when they run around? Your afternoon's gonna be worse, right? And so it's like, man, right?
That's funny.
That's
Yeah,
not-
that
Is
is.
that gonna right? It's like so backwards, and so like I had to talk to her, and her teacher's a doll, but it's like, again, it's like you're on autopilot instead of like, they don't have the time to be like, what is in Logan's highest interest, right? Because it's the masses.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah. I think I would say it's easier. Like hearing what other people are struggling with. I feel like it's easier. But the key is if one or both of the parents has the time, can make it a full-time job, financially, right? And then what's made it even easier is that Mike, my partner, is into permaculture. So our family business is a permaculture company. So
What's permaculture?
So oh my gosh, don't make me define permaculture on the podcast.
I don't know either. Thank you.
My god, you guys
Yeah.
don't.
No.
I should have been prepared to. Okay,
You can do
so
it.
permaculture.
You can say anything, and I'm just going to go, that's cool.
That's amazing. Okay.
Your partner's
I'm not
gonna be
gonna
like,
know.
she does not
She-
understand
she
what I
doesn't-
do.
She does not
Fact check.
understand what I do. Oh my god. Okay.
Say it with conviction,
permaculture. Okay. So this will be like the new way of doing agriculture. It's not
Okay.
agriculture, but permaculture is going to be, I will say, the smarter way of working with the earth. It's in harmony with its best interests, with its harmony with the seasons, creating systems, natural systems, like earthworks and rain collection, building gardens, food forests, lots of fruit trees. They're getting into natural building now, so weaving in structures, gazebos, fences, houses. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So permaculture, it's cutting edge. You guys look into it. It's like the way of the future.
Would earthships have been an early version of this?
I would say yes,
Okay.
just because the design of the home is going to be in
Yeah.
alignment with where the sun
another ship.
rises, where the sun sets. It's going to be off grid. It's going to have to have
ship.
these natural
It's cool.
systems.
It's a whole
woven.
community.
Yeah, earth ships are cool.
I can see us living there, actually, in that kind of a
yeah,
community.
Just say the word.
So
Earth
Yeah.
shift? Earth shift or shift?
ship.
Ship.
Yeah.
There's a community. Is it Arizona? trying to think of where that original
Yeah, I
one
think
was.
I saw one
cool.
in New
Yeah, it's like just
Mexico.
like
I think it's New Mexico.
Sustainable
like,
living. Yeah,
it's
New
like
Mexico.
building like
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
that's just in congruence with nature,
Yep.
right? Where it's
you
like,
looking up
I'm just
permaculture or
looking,
earth
I'm just
shifts?
looking at
Okay,
that's an
okay.
earthship, and then I'm sure permaculture is in along the same
Yep.
lines, right?
It
So
sounds like an
Yeah.
evolved.
instead of like
So,
being
like,
so
we're not
against
gonna-
nature, just be like one with
Yeah.
it and work with it. Which
Exactly.
Is a
You're not
completely
going to
different
be
way of,
pouring a bunch of chemicals down on the earth and destroying
Yeah.
the soil, you know, and
I like
so you
it.
can build something big and pretty.
I like it.
Not that it's not beautiful. Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
because
this
that's
is like
the
it
nature.
has like principles of permaculture. Creatively use and respond to change. Observe and interact. Catch and store energy. Obtain a yield. Use renewable sources. Produce no waste. Design from patterns to details. Integrate rather than segregate. Use small and slow solutions. Use and value diversity. So basically, just like instead of creating like this separation between like us and nature,
Yes.
it's just kind of like being in alignment with it. And as we're in more alignment with it, it probably creates a more ideal world. And so that's really what you're searching for.
You're restoring restoring the soil, the earth,
Yeah.
bringing native
how grounded,
wildlife back
right?
into the
Just for us as humans, we need to be grounded and living that way and living in step with nature would be so grounding.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the fourth H, right?
Yeah.
Homesteading.
Got it.
So saying what makes our system, our family dynamic even easier and flow even better is that this is the nature of his work. So it is in this realm of homesteading. You know, we've always lived on big pieces of land so that we could work with the earth and have the children have the woods and the wild to run around freely, you know, and be connected, like barefoot, you know. So we've always had gardens, and Mike's up to cool stuff all the time.
Nice.
You know,
Do you guys like eat your own grown vegetables and everything too?
well, yeah, mostly because we just purchased our property. Now we can get really serious about gardening.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, right now we do have a bunch of greens and herbs. Yeah, yeah,
What a beautiful life.
yeah. It is.
Yeah, you're just
It
getting
is.
back to the roots. The term that comes to mind is re-indigenization. You're like getting back to the core of things and like basically trying to get back to all the basics of what made us human beings instead of like us separating ourselves so much from nature and just the natural way of things. Yeah.
I love that you're bringing that up because I have had much more of an awareness lately of the native people.
Yeah.
Of, you know, and just
Yeah.
honoring them. I think there must be some collective healing happening around
Yeah.
the Native American Indians.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
And
was like
their
a
brilliance.
term. Yeah, it was a term that we used in Sacred Sons because like get back to like getting back to the basics of like being a man. Like we used to play with each other, we used to laugh with each other. Men used to hold space for each other because we're strong. Like you were bringing up earlier, where we're used to dealing with these heavy things, and instead a lot of times we go dump it on our relationships instead of like going to our guy friends, which can help support us through the tough times, and just like getting back to like human contact, right? Like human beings used to play with each other, wrestle with each other, like all these things are just the basics of being a human being, and we've like separated ourselves and we just live in these boxes. We don't even see the sunshine anymore. We don't even touch the ground very often, and we just stay in front of a screen. I remember I saw this Instagram meme that really pissed me off because it hit me in the heart in a very deep way. And so the meme goes, I feel so good relaxing in front of my giant screen right now after I just spent 8 hours staring at my medium-sized screen. And now I'm retiring to my bed where I stare at my miniature screen and I get to relax in front of that. And I was just
my
like,
God.
fuck me.
Yeah.
This is my life.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And it made me so depressed. And it was right before I went to
Right.
Joshua Tree. I'm like, I'm not looking at my phone for 3 days. And
Right,
just
and-
put it away, and that was it. Yeah.
Right. And this is
Yeah.
what we call the civilized
Yeah.
life or civilization,
That's it.
right?
You just
I've
stare
been-
at
We're
screens all
the
day.
evolved civilization. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Devolved.
Right,
Evolved.
exactly. Yeah, I've been listening
Yeah.
to Lila June. She's
Okay.
a Native American, and she's speaking about these things.
Yeah.
And she talks about just the lie of civilization, you know, because the Indians were called savages and less than, and just they don't, you know, wild and worthless or whatever. But she's like, no, like that was civilization. They were civilized,
Yeah.
and what we're doing is called being civilized. No. So
Yeah.
back to the roots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a beautiful journey you've been on, and how
Thank
cool
you.
also that your partner gives you the opportunity to be able to do this stuff and to raise your kids that way. I'm excited to
Absolutely.
meet them as adults and see what they turn out like and,
Nice.
and how they're doing, because I'm sure they'll teach a lot of other kids a lot of things, and just them being more in tune with nature and being more regulated is probably going to be a great gift to them.
Are your
Yeah.
kids coming to graduation?
They'll be around. They'll be they won't be there right at the farm, but they'll be there. And I have, when we used to live in the Lockhart area, that was around the time that the first gardens were being put, into the farm and the fruit trees. So we'd go and spend some work days over there planting trees, and
Nice.
yeah, Kyle was there and his son was there.
Kyle's your partner?
So Kyle Kingsbury.
Oh, got
yeah,
it. Cool.
He
Yeah.
out at the farm.
Yeah.
And his kids were there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've been there.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
Rad.
Yeah, I'm definitely emphasizing how they be
Were
and
you
not
raised
what
this
they
way?
do, right? Yes. Pretty. That's kind of why I started there.
Okay,
'Cause,
got it.
I have. Yeah,
Sorry,
my
I guess I
mom.
missed that piece.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I didn't mention like how I was schooled. I mostly was homeschooled, but I also remember being in some really cool local schools. Like one was called a real country school. There was some Waldorf and Montessori.
Yeah.
So they were like homeschool schools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'm like so touched by you growing up at Temple of the Universe. Like our house in Sedona, like one of the last nights we all went around and said like, what books have changed your life? And I'm like, anything Michael Singer writes, like anything, because he's just, it touches me in a certain way, and it like really shifts the way I show up, and I'll even go back to Untethered Soul as a refresher, it's
Amazing.
really good.
I've heard that from so many, and I'm happy that he continued growing and putting himself out there.
Michael Singer,
It's pretty
Jenna Brown.
trippy going on maps and like looking up the Temple of the Universe and being able to see pictures. I'm like, what? We're in the future. That was my childhood. Yeah, it's really cool.
That was my turn.
Yeah, I finally, one of the things that I've received from being in Fit for Service, especially this year, was the reminder and the invitation to value my story, value my journey, use my voice, share myself. So I just this year realized, whoa, that's a really cool part of my story. I should start talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Writing it.
What?
Writing it.
And writing.
You have a gift. You have stuff to share with other people that are like-minded that don't know where to start.
Yeah.
I mean, even posting videos, that could be a way of sharing the story too.
Yeah.
Just giving people like a tip that, whatever happens that day with your kid, be like, well, this is what I learned today, or this is something that you can do with your children based off of what, what I saw, right? That's like a good way of like, then it doesn't become so much of, I'm going to sit and create a list of things to share. It just, as it's happening, and it feels more natural to share it that way. That's kind of like how I do
be
things
so
with social
useful.
media. It's just like
Okay.
whatever's active in my life at that
Yeah.
moment, that's what I share.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a nudge. I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah.
Because I love documenting. I love
Yeah.
taking videos and photos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
exciting.
Okay. I'm going to do it.
Good.
I
Yeah.
believe in
I'm
you.
going to do it.
Good.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I believe it is important to value our stories,
Yeah.
because oftentimes speaking our story gives somebody else permission that's never spoken theirs. And they're like, oh, I can share mine. And like, I think when we shed light on those shadows, that crap loves to grow in the dark. And, when we don't speak our truth, we don't speak our hurts, we don't speak what parts of our story we don't really want to share, that shit just loves to grow in the dark. But the moment that we name it, put it in the light, it immediately begins to lose power. And if we give somebody else permission to begin sharing their story, man, that's a gift. That's a gift.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I guess what are like two of the biggest things that you've learned doing all this, like the way that you're raising your children? Like, what are the two biggest takeaways that you'd want to share?
About homeschooling or just living the lifestyle that we
living
are.
the lifestyle the way that you are.
Being wild and free.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so in alignment with everything that we're talking about, doing everything in alignment with what we love and what we value, not having any separation. Yeah. And just the value of being with family, the sacred family container is something that I've had visions about. And maybe it'll be part of my work in the world that's unfolding. But I think, looking at families who have, just because of how our society is designed, they have to be separated in their own fields throughout the day, and they don't have much time then to come back together for dinner in the morning. And then it's maybe not really quality time because they're exhausted from the day and all it's fragmented.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm like, I guess the thing that I look forward to seeing and that I will want to be a part of gifting is for families to discover the heart of the family, what's at the core of the family, like why, kind of the circling thing, why all of us, why have we been called together, and these particular souls, these children came in. I really feel strongly there's a reason and a purpose and a mission and a medicine for that family unit, that they don't have the opportunity to feel it, to enjoy it, to discover what that is, and then do the work that the family is meant to do in the world because of the fragmented lifestyle. That's more of my vision and prayer that's coming through than tips. But I feel, it's being revealed to me right now how important that is to me and how much I want that for families. Spend more time together.
Yeah, but just sharing that vision is part of it. Doesn't have to be called a tip, but just like advice or education, or it's just this is your experience, and that alone is just information that people can take and do what they want with it.
Okay, good.
It's going to resonate.
It's
people
possible.
that are listening to this,
It's
your story is going to resonate with so many people.
Just synonyms for the same thing. And
Yeah.
then I'm interested too, Katie, I would love to hear your journey, because I know so you went to Berkeley, you have a degree in psychology, correct? Where'd you get that degree in psychology from? Antioch, okay, cool. And then you were a psychologist, and now you're a life coach. And I guess just how did you go about that journey, and how did that end up leading you to where you are today?
I think I was an athlete growing up, and like the whole
Go Bears.
Go Bears. I think so. Like getting the scholarship and then being the best was like in the DNA, and it was also like how I made the house okay, because my dad, like, love was if I performed well enough, then like I was loved. That was the whole system, and it was a lot of pressure, but it was also like a lot of power, because like the house. Like if I wasn't performing well, my brothers would feel it, mom would feel it, because it was just like, that was what the dynamic was with my dad. And then when I did great, like, so I was like, I run this stuff, but it's also like a lot of pressure. And I was always really interested in sports psychology, and I was only interested in psychology because I'm like, could this make me better at my sport? I wasn't like really interested in all the other ways our brain can impact us. But anyways, I sort of gave up on that when I, like being a psychologist when I was in school, because the time when you're a student athlete, that like is the priority, your sport. And so with the schedule and stuff, like I wasn't able to do psychology. And so I like ended up doing like a pretty generic major, and I played my sport, and then I got the first job that was offered to me, and I kind of fell into the corporate landscape, and that was perfect for me because I'm like, dangle the carrot and I'll get the promotion. I was like, I can operate in that system. And it wasn't until I had some pretty like, difficult things happen in my personal life where I'm like, what do I want to do? What do I, like, what was my dream when I was a kid? And so then I went back and I got my master's in clinical psychology, and I began, starting my private.
What were the difficult things in your life that happened?
Miscarriage and divorce. Yeah. And also just kind of like, just, I think in that, just waking up and again, that was like part of this story we're sold. Like if my teammates from Cal were here, they would be like, dude, let me tell you about Katie. They would be like, we would have guessed she was the last to get married. Probably never would. Like Katie, like I was just like wild free, but yet I was the first one to get married, the first one to buy the house. I just like started kind of like operating in this like system, because I think it made me feel safe, to be honest, and like made me feel like I was winning, probably.
What sport?
Softball. And so anyways, like I started my private practice, but again, there was still now like single Katie and like I'm doing what I want. But it really wasn't until Fit for Service and like some of my sisters and brothers reflecting some things to me of I'm still operating so much from the ego and like not out of like true authenticity, because I don't know, my specialization was in performance psychology, but I also studied spiritual depth psychology. But I was like, you know what, since I was an athlete and I did the corporate thing, I think I'm going to be really good at like helping people with high performance. That's what I'm going to do. And that felt like really safe. And I loved the show Billions and like Wendy Rhodes. I don't know if you've watched Billions, but like there's this character who she like works with this hedge fund and she would like help them kill it. And I'm like, oh, that's what I'm into. And it also felt like safe and it was approved by my family. And like I looked the part and I just did this thing. And as I started to like get more clear on like who I am and what my spirit's here to do, I'm like, absolutely not, you know? And like some of our Fit for Service friends, they will look at my Instagram and they're like, what the fuck are you wearing, Katie? Like that is not you. Like I'm in like a pea coat and I'm like like I'm trying to fit in this box that's just not me. And I think it's been this like reclamation of like, I'm not going to work under my license because I want to be able to run, if you're my client, I want to be able to run groups with you. I want to be able to be the most full, expansive version of myself. I do work with some athletes. I want to be able to go to your games. I want to, like, the way that I want to engage is so different. And I understand that there's, you know, boundaries and the license is there for a reason, and I think good reason, but that's not how I want to operate anymore. And so it was like a big deal for me to like drop the ego, because, you know, you put in these hours to get your license and you get the schooling, and I'm like, I did all of that, and I like I needed that until I realized I didn't, you know.
Wow.
So wait, for the boundaries, you said you're not allowed to attend people's games. Is it just like there has to be a degree of separation as you being the psychologist? Can you explain that a little bit more in detail?
No dual roles. So if I am your therapist, I cannot also be your soccer coach. If I am your therapist, like I can't also be your girlfriend's therapist unless it's like a couples camp. Like there's all these boundaries, right? And that, again, for good reason, and you know, and like selling courses. Like if I'm your therapist, like I also can't, like, you're not supposed to, again, like blitz you in your inbox with like things that I'm, you know, promoting.
Got it. Okay. And then too, even when you said like, you know, you had some photos of you wearing your pea coat and like that separation. I mean, like it's like me in the suit, but it's like it's also not a separation. It's like you're all these things, and that's like something too that I've really just like in my life, you know, two people that I've like really loved and that have been probably like greatest inspirations like for me that I really like is like Salvador Dali, and I love Leonardo da Vinci, and I think they're two of the greatest people that have ever lived, and they were not just one thing. They were whatever they wanted to be, and they were all the things, and they were masters at all the things that they took the time to master. And so it's like understanding that you are not one person, you're not one lane, and that's not all there is to you. You're a multifaceted human being, and you can be good at anything you want to be good at. And so that's like, I think when other people bring those projections onto you, it's the way that they were raised, that you have to be good at one thing. What's the one thing you want to do? I don't know. I like doing a fucking million things, and I'm going to be good at all of them. So that's your prerogative.
And what came to my mind was this is how they know you.
Yeah.
They're familiar with this Katie.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, business Katie? Who the hell is that?
It makes them uncomfortable.
They're like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
I know that I have all of these different parts of self, which is what you're referencing. And how, again, dancing with shadows, how do I learn to dance with all of my parts of self?
Yeah.
And some of my parts of self do wear a gray pea coat. And I do have nice black shoes. And there's another part of me that, well, there's a part of me that likes to run around naked, and there's a part of me that likes to run around in this stuff, you know? So...
And I like, I honor that. I think for me, that, and I like love, I'm like able to look at that Katie and be like, I get what you were doing. I so get it, and I see you. But this is like, I don't think that is a part of me that actually exists in this moment. I think that is like something I had to grow into this version of me, and like this version of me. Like when I really like sit with how I've helped people the most and like what my medicine is, I am a shadowy woman, you know,
the
and
dark goddess.
Yeah, if you're the earth goddess, I'm the dark goddess.
Yes.
What are we?
I am Batman.
Yeah. And so like being able to like write poetry about the dragon and being able to like go to the darkness and then being able to like help people with sexuality and the ways that we play with our darkness through that, like that is my jam. And that is like what is just naturally in my core, and that blends all my interests. And it's like, yes, like I have been wanting to fit in a certain box so that like this makes sense in my path. I can make sense in my corporate career because I did this and my athlete thing. And so performance psych, that makes sense. But it's no. Yeah.
And your voice just changed even. You're like, let's
did.
speak a little bit higher, you know? It's like, no.
And I hear your reference to your dad and how, and you said it better, and if I was doing well, then it was received well.
Yeah, but you weren't even fitting into your own box. You're fitting into someone else's box.
Right. But we learn, our nervous system learns. How do I get that approval? How do I get that significance? I need to do this. And so then that's what we learn. And then as we grow and we age, and it's like, I think I'm going to shift. Yeah. And so this doesn't feel quite like it used to. And giving ourselves permission to say, it wasn't a good or bad. This was just the way that it was. And now this is who I'm becoming.
Yeah, and thank you guys for like witnessing me in the becoming, you know, because I think like sometimes that gets skipped over. They're like, you know, some people see you as that and then now this, but I feel like Fit for Service has seen me in like my whole becoming, and that's like very healing to me. It feels really good.
I love that part of it. Yeah.
Kind of a butterfly story, isn't it?
A little bit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just like thinking about my own journey where I'm just like feeling the comfort to like become more myself as I've gone through the journey. And it's probably like part of like my parents and the way they raised me and wanting me to be a specific person and like be a certain way. And as I've fulfilled their dreams and became the person that they wanted me, now like the pressure of like them being like, you do this, act this way. It's like, I've done it. Can I do what I want now? And so like I'm now doing what I want, but I realized I waited most of my life to feel the permission to do what I want. And you know, there's always been parts of me that rebelled and did whatever I wanted, but like really at the end of the day I was scared and terrified. And now that I fulfilled those dreams that were asked of me, and now it's like I feel complete freedom to really do whatever I want whenever I want, because it's like I did it. I checked the boxes. I did exactly what was asked of me, and now I'm going to go do whatever the fuck I want. And so it's like also this like other level of freedom, which is like, it's good that I'm there, but also I can't believe that I waited my whole life because I was stuck in this box. And then now I'm finally outside the box and created my own world. And so, it's a beautiful part of the journey though.
Wow.
Yeah.
This reminds me of when I was first learning as a horsemanship instructor.
Yeah.
And I had no clue what I was doing, much like when we're young and we're growing up, we follow somebody else's idea. And so I studied under, somebody for years, and I did it his way because I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm going to follow your way and then once you start to get proficient at it and you start to feel into that, and pretty soon it's like, okay, I get what you were doing, and now I'm going to shift this because this is what fits better for me. So I needed to start somewhere. I needed to start under somebody's plan until I could do it enough to where I could feel it and say, this part fits for me, this part doesn't. And so now I'm going to shift it to how it fits for me.
Yeah.
So I am grateful for what I learned from those. And it was very much in a box. It was very, you have to do it this way. He always said, do my program your way.
Yeah.
Melissa says that too. Do my program your way. But I have to learn the program first. Yeah. And then I go, oh, now I'm going to shift this. And it's going to become mine.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's also part of the journey, right? Realizing there is no wrong way.
No.
It's just like you did it exactly the way you needed to do it to get to where you are today. And that's just being gentle with yourself and being like, it's okay. It's fine. This is just the way that it played out. Yeah, you always have to be
always
gentle.
been gentle.
I'm going like Peter Crone, like he says like like it happened, like of course, the quote of like it happened the way it was supposed to, or like whatever. He was like, of course, because that's how it happened. Like it's literally like that. Sometimes we're like, I could have done that, but it's like, no, of course. It was so perfect, right?
Yeah. It happened the way it did because that's the way it did. If it was supposed to happen a different way, it would have. Yeah. It's kind of the way that my interpretation of that. It's like, no, this is how it's supposed to go. Otherwise it would have been different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's where the depression is you just lingering on the
Yeah.
fact of
Oh,
wishing that it
man.
would have changed and been something different. And that was like a huge part of like where I got to where I am today, is I was so stuck about some decisions that I made when I was younger and some mistakes. But now in retrospect, they weren't mistakes. They were what needed to happen for me to become the man that I needed to be today. But it took a really long time to finally accept it. And one of my best friends always says it's the best thing that ever happened to you. And I was during I have my own networking group of personal injury attorneys that I run, and I always ask like a networking question when everybody introduces themselves. So this year I asked everybody, what are you grateful for this year? And I was just like thinking on the drive there of how I was going to answer the question, and I was just like, man, I am just grateful for all my mistakes. And it was the first time in my
Wow.
life that I was ever like, this is why I'm the freaking amazing person that I am. It's because of all the stupid shit that I did. That's the only reason I have success. The only reason I've been blessed. The only reason I have the relationships in my life is because of all the things I literally did wrong. Because I learned
Yes.
from them. They made me who I am. And that's like what I'm grateful for
That's
this
the
year.
moment I'm talking
Yeah.
about. That feels so good.
Yeah, it feels so
Yeah,
good.
it feels
Yes.
so good.
So I'm grateful for my failures,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
backwards, but it's the
And
right
that's
way.
The same thing I
Yeah.
was saying about
Yeah.
I'm grateful for my traumas.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
All of it.
I didn't feel that way in the beginning. So
Yeah.
anybody that's struggling right now,
Yeah.
don't call me an asshole quite yet.
Yeah.
Just wait and see.
Yeah.
But there did come a time where I was
Yeah.
grateful for the mistakes that I made. I'm grateful
Yeah.
for the things, even at the
Yeah.
time when I thought they were bad. So,
Well, I think God gives you exactly what you can handle, never more, never less, right? And so if you can understand that concept, which is more of a feeling that you got exactly what was needed, because sometimes I think we come into like our parents' lives or our families' lives because we're helping them heal from something. And so, you know, if you had a particularly, it's not to like rate that also people have worse or better childhoods, but whatever you went through, you came to help your family to heal and to work through whatever needed. And if it was particularly, let's say, a little bit more difficult, for lack of a better term, it's because they needed a stronger person that could hold that space and help them heal through whatever needed to be healed. So you get exactly what you can handle, and it's up to you to interpret it as you can let it crush you, or it can become your superpower, right?
back to choice.
Yeah, it's back to choice, because I know, like, for me, I was very sheltered. I was not like allowed to to really be social, and like I wasn't allowed to like have a lot of friends. I just hung out with like my family growing up, and like that also became my like superpowers. Like that's why I'm one of the most social people ever, is like I could have become super introverted, but for me it was like, no, I want more friends. I want everybody to be my friend. I want to create relationships with everybody around me. And so it's like, it just depends on how you interpret whatever happened to you. Yeah.
Yep. I think what I've learned about my life is it's not so much about the hand that I've been dealt. It's how do I play the hand that I've been dealt.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Where our weaknesses become our strengths. You know?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a natural hero's journey. I think our kids are going to go through, you know, that path
Yeah.
as well. I'm just happy to not add that added layer of, well, their parents expect them to do a certain thing or put pressure. Like
Yeah.
that's the piece I'm really happy to remove, because I went through that as well, even with the awesome beginning that I had. When I was 11, we did move to Texas. I was enrolled in public school, and that was like a sharp turn for me that added on, you know, the trauma and the misalignment that I wasn't experiencing in Florida. So it did take me years to get over that frustration that I wasn't just allowed to unfold naturally and be in beautiful spaces, you know, and not have the pressure put on me to, you know, go to college, for example, and just the things that weren't true. So I'm happy to just eliminate that piece of it as an experiment to see, you know, maybe do the children find what they love sooner, or, you know, how that's going to affect their path.
Yeah, Logan's dad and I, we talk a lot about that too, because it's like, yeah, he was an athlete at Cal as well and played in the NFL, and it's like, man, like you can like force a certain path, especially athlete, like you force a certain path, but it's like, let's just see what Logan likes, you know? And she's like, she loves to dance, she loves to paint. And we're like, should we sign you up for basketball? Do you want to play softball? Like, she's not that into it. She did play basketball, she's not that into it. And it's like, but like instruments and art, and like, okay, like let's follow her nudges. And it could change when she gets older, who knows? But there's something cool about giving your kid every resource and opportunity so that they can do their thing, not our thing.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
believe that they'll be successful in that because it's their thing.
And it's her journey, not mine.
Yes.
And I was going to say how much of it, in thinking this is something I needed to grow through with my own kids, but how much of our children's behavior we believe is a reflection upon us. Don't embarrass the family, right? Don't do anything to embarrass, because that what you do is a reflection on me. It's like, hold on, no, it's not.
I've had those moments.
Right.
Like I
Yes,
remember
I
when
have
Logan
too.
was like 2, and like I was embarrassed at like Target because she's having. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, that's very 2.
It's
That
very
is
2-ish.
Very 2.
Yeah,
you
she's
know?
doing too really well.
Yeah.
Really well.
Or like wanting her to wear a certain outfit when we're going somewhere. I'm like, oh, and then it's like, no, she can put it together, babe. Like do your thing, like you know, and just letting her rock it. Yeah.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
Yep. Our own insecurity shows
I
up
know.
in
Oh,
our
they do. They do.
Yeah, you're giving her the opportunity to do what she wants. I don't know many children that get the opportunity. You're obviously doing the same thing too. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I know as a
good,
kid,
so
I
good.
grew up kind
That's
of
really
being
good.
unseen.
What's up?
I felt unseen,
Yeah.
you know, and so the thing that I was thinking about with your background, which is a ton more education than I've got, but what I keep hearing and what Scarlett's talking about is how well adjusted those kids are going to be because they have strong parental bonds and what a difference that makes and will make in their lives. The fruit that will bear just because they felt loved, they felt seen, they felt heard. That's just going to pay dividends beyond. Yeah.
That's like fit for service. I have not that I'm like a cold person, like, but like I haven't been able to really like open my heart the way that like I think, you know, some medicine journeys have helped me really open my heart, but then also just being in community with Fit for Service, I'm like, I have so much love inside me. It's nuts, you know, and I think it's made me a more loving, softer mother, you know, for sure. And that's like a nice little surprise of the Fit for Service journey is like how it's helped the way I've shown up as a mom.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about your experience in sisterhood because you brought that up a couple times in Fit for Service.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you know, we in Montana, the Song of the Tribe, that I don't think I realized, because I always had my teammates and friends, and I don't know, but I didn't realize how like competitive I could be with women, like under the surface. And I also like, I don't know, we had a healing circle that was led by Valana for one of the women in our container. And I was so moved by this, like, wow, the power of one woman come together. And like there's no, it's like we are all there to like love and to heal. I walked out of that and I'm like, oh, I'm changed forever. And like, I knew how powerful we were. I knew that like part of my job is to reflect to every woman that I come into of like their power, like, and that helps me be in mine, and just like this deep trust in my sisters. Like I don't know. I think I historically, like, again, I had my teammates, but you're still competing against your teammates, right? And like I had a lot of guy friends, and my personality tended to just vibe more with guys. And I was like, oh no, like this has just been so big for me with the sister wound. And then I also like, I've noticed the woman that I judged in our container are actually my best friends in the container, you know? And so like,
Wow.
and so to be able to like talk to like our friend Megan about like, dude, I'm gonna tell you all the ways I judged you, right? And now that's like literally one of my best friends in the container, you know? And it's just so cool to be able to like grow in that way and trust in that way. And yeah, we're so powerful. Like women, we are, the ways that we, the ways that we can heal and like come together and love. It's magic.
Yeah.
The wild woman archetype has recently shown up in my field, and so she has a lot to show me and teach me right now, working with her. So
Yes.
I feel like I'm just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
I know with the judging too, I know whenever I'm judging somebody else, it's just that's the thing I'm judging the most within myself. And that's been like a big part of the process too. I mean, I remember even like the first summit that we went to, I was so judgy about like Aubrey and the leaders because I was like, I was just like, they're so cool. They're like separating themselves for us. Like they're not really approachable, but that was not the case whatsoever. I just didn't have anything to relate with them at that moment, and I was putting them up on a pedestal, and so I was like projecting all these emotions and ways that I felt about them. But the moment I had something relatable or something to discuss or something to go up to them about, they were so welcome and they were so open, and like even some of them have like reached out to me like separately, like on Instagram, just saying how proud they are of my journey and like seeing me grow through it all, and like they're actually like the sweetest and nicest people. It's just like, you know, I had to find the common thread. I didn't have anything in common, and it's like, you know, I remember one of my mentors like teaching me something. He's like, Joe, like, because I wanted to be friends with him. He's like, Joe, you can't be friends with me as long as you see me like as a mentor. Like, you're putting me up here. It's hard for you to like come to the same place if you're always putting me above you. He's like, so if you want to be friends, you have to see me as a peer, and it's also okay if you see me as a mentor. There's also nothing wrong with that too. And so it's like, that was something I struggled with, because I would love to be friends with like Aubrey and like hang out with him, but I also like fangirl with him, and I'm like, this guy's so fucking cool. He's fucking crushing it. You know, like like, you know what I mean? Obviously I have a podcast, like him and Joe Rogan are like the inspirations for my podcast. And like, I just see them. And so it's like, it's as long as you put someone above you, they're always going to be above you. So it's hard to get on the same level if you don't feel that you're on the same level. And that even comes back to like the same thing you were discussing, either like feeling worthy of like their praise or feeling worthy of their recognition. And like, then you're even more separation between you and them, because then you're just waiting for them to validate you, even though you're already validated and you are perfect the way you are. So I mean, like, there's all these little micro layers and levels, but also just hyper awareness that even though I know all this, I'm still choosing to put him on a pedestal, because I feel that I am not as awesome as he is, and that I hope one day that I will be awesome enough to see him as a peer, because I will feel validated in that sense too.
And it shows up in so many ways. Like, I mean, my friend Amy in our container, like, I remember on the first call, she like raised her hand and she was talking. I'm like, what does she do? Like, what? Like, and she's like, I think I'm an angel. And I'm like, oh God, you know? And I'm like, what is happening? But you know what? Like, now, again, dear friend, I am like, the audacity you had, like, to get, because I would never in a million years raise my hand on a call, let alone say I was an angel, let alone with 200 people. Like, she had so much confidence and she was so audacious. And I was like, that is actually something that needs to be more alive in me, like to have the audacity. So it's like,
I love that word. Yes.
Yeah, I've not even had the bravery to do a lot of the things, like the activities that they talk about on the app. I have not shared a lot of those, but like, I mean, like, here I am, you know what I mean? I do like a podcast. It's like funny to see how people are also brave in different ways, right? Like, I'll come in here and talk about myself for hours, but like sharing a mandala that I drew or something like that, like, I'm like, nah.
so
I'm not going there.
well, that is interesting.
And it's just like these things show up in different ways.
For sure.
But yeah, so that's been interesting to just notice that about myself. You know, like, I went up to Caitlin and I read a poem that I wrote to her directly, but I wasn't brave enough to stand in front of the whole group and like share it, because, you know, I feel that I'm really good at a lot of things in my life, especially when it comes to like business and that side of things. But when it comes to the spiritual side of things, that's not I'm working into those things as I like become more comfortable with them. And so sharing those can be a little bit more difficult for me than just having the you know, the other type of talks. So yeah, so I'm leaning into that. And, you know, part of this is this podcast too, is like, I knew I wanted to do a podcast to tell people about Fit for Service and to share those stories, but I just didn't know how it was going to develop. But the universe developed it for us. So made my job a lot easier, and then brought you guys to me, which made it even easier too.
So cool.
So thank you, Aubrey.
Thank you,
for
Aubrey.
that. For following his intuition and just letting
And
us.
suggesting that this activity,
Yeah.
I mean, look at the friendships that have been formed simply because Aubrey said, hey, I got an idea. We'll have him draw a card. We'll have him try and find the
He's like,
common
I don't know how
threads.
this is going to
I
go.
don't- yeah, I don't know how
right?
this
But it
is gonna
also came from him being gifted those antlers, right? Which
Yes,
is just
yeah.
understanding, what was the word he were? I think Aini, what was the word that he used? It was something about just like whatever, like, it's just a natural happening. I'm not going to butcher it, but like, long story short, it's just like, he was like, there's no mistakes, there's no accidents. This is the natural way of things to happen, and we're going to see what naturally unfolds. And so he allowed us to naturally unfold with what came from our groups, right? Because once again, we had no idea what our histories are, what
I
our
forgot
stories
this
were.
came from the antlers.
I think I missed that part.
Because Ryan found those antlers and he gave them to Aubrey, and Aubrey literally felt blessed because he'd been part of some sweat lodges and he never had his own pair of antlers. And he's all like, you know, this, and Ryan was like, I don't feel, you know, good taking these. I feel like these are something I want to gift to you, Aubrey, and just feeling that that was a natural thing to do. Yeah, and then just following that thread, and I mean, just like everything, right? It's you just follow the thread to where it needs to go.
Follow the nudge.
The natural thing to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so
Wow.
I also want to talk about, like, because it's been a couple hours now, so I want to kind of go towards what is the biggest takeaway you had, or the multiple takeaways. You can talk about that and we can go down those threads of like what you learned. Like it could be something that a speaker taught or like a story that you gained. I know for me, I'm going to share the story of like from Sedona and that journey that I went through there. But yeah, what is the biggest takeaways that you had from Fit for Service and why it was worth it? And I was also, I'm going to do a shameless plug for Fit for Service. I think it's perfectly priced. I'm going to say that. It's a little bit pricey from what some people say. It's like $13,000 for the year, but the mental benefits, the emotional benefits, the education that I've gotten, the relationships that I've gotten, like received from this are immensely more priceless than the cost of this program. And I've also talked to the coaches. They lose money. They're not really making money on Fit for Service. It costs them so much time and energy to put this, and like renting the spaces that they do, the cost of like the food, the travel, the speakers, all this stuff. Like they're not making a bunch of money on this. So
Right.
they're doing it to literally help people become fit for service. And so I know that, you know, money is a monetary exchange. It allows them to be able to put this on for us. And so we have to be able to offer that in exchange to receive the program. So if you're looking into joining this, you should do it. It's pretty freaking sick and it will change your life because it's definitely changed my life. And I know that I've become a different person from the time that I started this program to the time that it's ended. And there's so many like benefits and things that I'm going to be taking because I want to do a TED Talk in the next year. And I know that there was some pieces that I needed to get from like the last Sedona summit that were parts that are going to help me finish my speech. It was at that summit that I learned them, and now I have the pieces to move forward with the program that I'm going to do. So I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Very cool.
So that's my shameless plug for
Wow.
Aubrey and Fit for Service,
Right,
and you
yeah.
should look into it.
Yeah. Especially, I'm like, if you're feeling that what do we say, the full body fuck yes. Like
Yeah.
if you're feeling that, then for sure jump into the portal because that is the invitation.
Yeah.
You know, to all of it.
Yeah. And with money, if you're struggling with money, what I've learned in myself is if I raise the bar and I say I need to do this, I'll figure out a way to make the money. I mean, that's just the way the universe works. Give a place for the money to go. If you're just floating around like, I want money, great. Maybe it'll show up. But if you give a purpose for your money, you'll create a solution to make that purpose come true.
Manifestation.
Yeah, manifestation. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, does anybody want to go first or?
I will.
Trying to think. Okay.
I think my biggest takeaways in these types of things, and again, I'm probably the newest out of this group to Fit for Service, we're all very, very personal. And as I have said, you know, in the first podcast, and I don't know if I've said it in this one or not, but connection was one of the things that I was absolutely seeking because my past has been very disconnected from people. And so learning that I can have connection with other people and specifically with other men was very fulfilling, very soul filling. To be able to be in an environment where I could just express however I needed to and wanted to, safely and freely and all of that, whether it was big or whether it was small. And I had the freedom to move within that environment and how do I feel in this moment? And whether it was the breath work or whether it was the ecstatic dance or that. Loved listening and learning. I love learning about other people. So anytime that, you know, Joe and I were in a house together and it took a little bit in our house for some continuity to begin to form. But I loved learning about our other housemates and you. And we didn't get a ton of time to talk, but I loved learning about where you came from and the struggles that you were having at the time that you were arriving. You know? And so I think overall my takeaways were just the very, very rich, deep personal relationships and the beginnings of those bonds that are being formed and further formed here with our group here, the Nines. And the 9 Club.
Dressed to the
And
nines.
yeah. And then there was, the education. And so often I tried to take notes, and it was like drinking through a fire hose. There was so much.
Yeah.
I trust that it all went in. For me to be able to regurgitate any of it would be difficult, but the feeling that I had of being that I'm in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing, and was very, very grounding, very settling.
Yeah.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And so mainly the friendships. What are my takeaways? The friendships, the people. That's what I love.
Yeah.
Love doing the connection out into nature. Me and Cactus had a great talk.
Nice.
And it was so fun because at one point, we have a couple hours that we were out there communing with our rocks and whatever.
So we did something called a soul wander, where
Yeah.
essentially they asked us to walk out into nature and to find something that would be our teacher. So we spent a couple hours in one spot seeing what our teacher would be. So
Yeah,
sorry,
mine
just
was
to
a
give some
cactus.
context.
Yeah, no, thank you. Mine was a cactus. And at one point, I'm laying on the ground and I'm looking at my cactus, my new friend.
Yeah.
And pretty soon I just started observing, what has Cactus been seeing? And so I turned and I was kind of sitting next to Cactus, just watching the world that Cactus sees. And so these types of things were laying on the earth, thinking about your existence, Scarlet, and where you live and what you're doing, but being in that connected. And so those are the things that I took away from Fit for Service. How I grew. What did I learn about me?
Yeah.
Through you, through Katie, through Scarlet, that kind of thing. It's just the relationships.
Yeah.
That's my big takeaway.
Yeah, it's funny.
The beauty of it.
I had this one cactus that looked like it was reaching out to the other cactus. And this one cactus was struggling, and it just looked like this other cactus was reaching out to just like help it and to
sweet.
give it like its nutrients and be like, hey, let me help you out. And so like just seeing how we are like these cactuses, that there's some people that need more help than others. And for those of us that have a bounty of natural resources and we feel good, and it's like you can be a cancer cell and you can infect others and make them sick, or you can
so
be
true.
you can be a stem cell and you can help to raise people and you can make them feel better. And so just seeing those cactuses, that was like a huge lesson for me. Like that's how we are as human beings too.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
If
thank you.
Fit for Service, like when they advertise, they're like, 99% of people say that you'll have one lifelong friend. I'm like, fuck that. Like, I think I have I think I'm rolling deep. Like, I think like we've got
Yeah.
so
That's
many,
funny,
right?
but for some people, one lifelong friend is a lot of friends. I'm on the same mindset. I think everybody should be my best friend.
Oh my God. The bonds were just so real and so many, It's really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, I was able to drop in deep with a lot of people, which was cool. And yeah, I mean, and still, even after the full year-long program, I remember being at Sedona, which was the last summit that we went to. I was like, I don't know half the people here.
I met you there.
Yeah, we
I
met
met
at
you
the
the
last one.
last
Yeah, we met at the last one. That's
Oh,
what I'm saying. Like,
wow.
it was that last one finally when I like hung out at the Sage house and with you guys' house, and then I was like, oh, cool, these are my people. And then like from there, all of you started introducing me to the coolest people you met at the event, and then it just was like, because I was like, okay, I feel really trustworthy with these individuals, so I trust their judgment. And then you guys just started introducing me to all the people that were right there. Like
in Arcadia.
we roomed together, so we stayed in the same houses. Yeah, so we had a different relationship. But then like your guys' house was just all natural relationships that I made. Yeah, and then we partied together at Arcadia, which did not suck.
No, it did not.
One other thing I want to add, that the talent show,
Yeah,
that was a huge step out for
Yeah.
me.
Wow.
You
And it was
killed
a
it.
thank you.
Oh,
so we do a
wow.
talent show that we did at the end of the first event, and that second event, people can do anything from sing to read to poetry to speech, like whatever you want. And so Robert sang a song.
I did. I got a chance to play guitar and sing a song, and which is something I do very little. I'm not a professional musician by any means, but it is something that always feeds my soul. It's one of the ways at home that I return when I'm scattered,
Yeah.
just sitting down with a guitar, just futzing, learn a new song, whatever. So to be able to do that there was another notice to my nervous system. And what I say is, look, you can do hard things.
Yeah.
You can put yourself out there. You can, and I knew this was an incredibly safe place to do
Yeah.
it, But I'm telling my nervous system, you can do hard things.
Yeah.
You are strong. So that was another big takeaway.
Yeah.
It was fun to do, but
Yeah.
it was also very healing to me. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you can
Yeah.
put yourself out there.
The hat was part of your persona up there too. You turned
Yeah,
into
it
Johnny.
was.
You turned into Johnny Cash
It
for a
was.
second.
It was awesome.
Your voice got all deep. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I get it, Robert.
You helped create that.
That was good.
So anyway, I didn't mean to take away, but that was
There's
another
no
big
takeaways.
piece
You're
of
just
that.
adding.
Thank you. Yeah. That was another big piece of my journey. It was that
Yeah.
to be able to share and to really do something at the fringe of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
So
You did a great job.
thank you.
Yeah, you
It was
did.
a lot
Sharing.
of
Yeah,
fun.
I mean
Thank you.
the talent show was wild. I know there was the dominatrix thing. That was
Yeah.
very triggering for me because just my relationship with my mother growing up. So I'm actually going to reach out to her and go do a session because it was
No
really triggering a
way.
lot of like childhood stuff for me.
Wow.
And so I felt like I needed to work through that. And also just like being submissive. I'm not very
Yeah.
submissive. I actually like to control most situations and like
Never
to be in
would've
charge.
guessed.
Yeah, I never would have guessed. So I think it might be a good lesson for me in that. And also
Wow.
too, I just love the fact that she's also a psychologist.
Yeah.
She's got
Yeah.
her master's degree and she said that she's been able to provide more healing through being a dominatrix. And so, and it was not erotic. People hear dominatrix. It wasn't sexual. It was like an exercise in bravery, first of all, for Kyle and what he was doing, and also like an exercise in like helping people who might not be submissive or enable themselves or allow themselves to be submissive to really work and let go of that, especially for like, I guess I can see how it would be super healing for like men that are in positions of leadership. They're always in charge of people, and then just letting go of that and just not having to do anything and just honestly listening and submitting to someone else. So yeah, so I'm gonna reach out to her and do a session. I think
Nice.
in the next couple of weeks.
Amazing.
Yeah.
We should do a whole nother podcast on like how BDSM is healing and this. Like it's amazing.
Yeah,
yeah.
I
Very
haven't
cool.
gone down that road yet.
Wow.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm
Again,
proud of. I'm
is it
proud
getting
of you for
warm in
that.
here?
Yeah.
Have you gone down that road?
Part of my reclamation is like is actually helping people and serving in the way that's natural to me. And
Yeah.
so yes, like that is like trained in some of that and like also like just so interested in it. So I'm excited to hear about your
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
definitely
I
fill you guys in.
appreciated that she explained so much
did,
of it. I've never heard that before. No one's ever explained it to me.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Go,
cool.
Joe.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Go,
And
Joe.
for Kyle to do it.
Do
for-
it.
It feels
do it.
uncomfortable. I'm doing it. Which
Yeah.
is,
Yeah, I know Kyle loved it, and he
Yeah.
also wanted to experience a longer
Yeah.
session.
it was just very brave.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
You
And
know
to
what
do
I
it
mean?
in
He's in
front
front
of-
of 200 people.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
was very, very vulnerable for
Yeah.
him to do that. And I mean, like, it just like brought up so much stuff for me as a child, just like having to watch and go through that. And so I was like, I think I need to experience this myself and just kind of process through it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it was edgy for a lot
was
of people.
definitely very
They
edgy,
were,
yeah.
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 They were
Yeah, I thought it was going to be more sexual. It was definitely not.
It was not.
The opposite of
was not.
sexual.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, there was about
Yeah.
3/4 of the
Yeah.
way through it. I'm like,
Yeah, I was
I
like-
found myself thinking, this needs to stop.
Yeah, this needs
Yeah.
to stop.
This
needs
I
to
was like, I
stop.
wanted to go up there and
Yeah.
save him.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Like-
that's it. It wasn't needed to be safe. He was perfectly safe.
Yeah, I was.
Right.
It was. Yes, it was edgy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
This beating has to stop.
Yeah, yeah, but it was, but that's the thing. It's like, that's where the healing comes from, is just allowing and like knowing that you're safe and like just understanding that she's a professional and she's there to help you heal. And so like all those things, but yeah, you're right. There was a part of me that wanted to go and just protect him. You're like, nope, we're done with this. yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah,
Trust the teacher that is the trigger, right,
Yeah.
Rob?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I really appreciated how much cosmic information came through this last summit. So it's
Yeah.
really standing out for me. We had a couple guest speakers that were bringing in these ancient codes and star systems that are aligned with our natural cycles and rhythms that have been forgotten.
That was fascinating.
And I really appreciate, it's just, I've always loved the coming together of the opposites, you know, bringing science with the spiritual. And I felt like we got that with the stars and the earth, and then learning about the calendar. So I'm really inspired moving forward, especially like thinking now we're in the holidays, and I'm remembering what we were learning around the calendar and how the calendar is not, our calendar is not based on the stars.
Yeah.
you know, so, and our family has naturally been, you know, we gravitate towards solstice and,
Yeah.
you know, moon phases and stuff like this. So in this holiday time, I've really been reconsidering how we celebrate, you know, and we got a teaching on celebration or ceremony, was it? That was fascinating. Matthias was talking about the root, you know, meaning in was it ceremony or celebration? I can't recall, but it means cereal.
Celebration. It was cereal.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
remember
So
that
coming together.
specifically.
So basically, I'm
So-
like reclaiming. I'm in this
Yeah.
this season of reclaiming.
I don't remember what the Latin word was, but just essentially that we
Time.
come together in ceremony where we're sharing our cereal with each other.
Yes.
And essentially, because it's like we're just sharing our food and our
The
grain with
harvest.
each other. Yeah, the
Yes.
harvest.
Yeah.
Because part of being in ceremony is like just being in alignment with the seasons, and like when you're
Yes.
in alignment with the seasons, you have certain foods during certain times, and so you're bringing to share your bounty with everyone else.
That's the reason to come together. That's the reason
Yeah.
that's when to have holidays, you know,
Yeah.
not like, you know, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and then New Year. And the New Year was based on the
Yeah.
Romans going back to work on the 1st or something
Having
like
their
this.
party
So
before they went back
so
to
what
work.
it was is like
Yes,
it's
yes.
the word calendar comes from the word calendas, which is just a signification of when the tax man is coming. So our entire calendar system is based off of the word calendas, which is the tax man is
Taxes.
coming. And also like I love Matthias. Matthias just broke my brain. So like I've like memorized like most of his speech at this point because I did take so many notes. But like essentially what he's showing us that we're living in misalignment and we're living out of accordance with the universe because we've allowed empire, which is essentially just like government that is ruling us, they want to keep us in alignment for paying taxes and just being under control. But that we used to live in ceremony, we used to live in alignment with the moon and the sun, and we used to be like in these perfect cycles. But like Julius Caesar, like that's why we have July. He wanted to be a god, so he's like, I'm gonna have a month. Then Augustus Caesar is like, I want a month too because my brother got a month or whatever, right? And then not only that, but Augustus Caesar made it 31 days instead of the natural just 30 days, and because I want to be a better god than my brother, and so then it messed up those even further. And then if you just look at the signs, there's signs everywhere, right? So October means 8, November
not
means
10.
9, December means 10. That's all the months we're supposed to have is 10 months, but we've screwed it up. And then like even little things like the days of the week, right? It's a Norse tradition. Wednesday is Woden's Day, Odin's Day, Thursday is Thor's Day, Friday is Freya's Day, right? And we used to just live in ceremony all the time, and there's signs in our language, and if we can understand etymology means the root of the words, sometimes literally the definition and the truth is right there before our eyes, but we just don't understand, and we don't take the time to understand the root of things, getting back to the root of everything.
Yes.
We can see what's going on around us, and I know too with Matthias, like the biggest takeaway for me was the intention thing. Being intention means just being in constant tension, and so once again, the think, feel, and do. And then the moment he said that, I just remembered times in my life where I really wanted something. And then I realized I was not feeling and I was not doing as much as I was thinking. Or I was, you know, doing more than I was actually thinking and feeling. And I just immediately, these moments in my life where, and then I thought of this, like at this exact moment, like I had just like, you know, closed like the $6 million case, like literally the week before we got to Sedona. And I was like, no, I was in perfect alignment with the thinking, the feeling, and the doing. And I got exactly what I was going for. And so it's like just understanding that if you are in perfect alignment, you will get what you want.
Yes, yeah. I've always had a philosopher's mind, and even as a child, thinking about these kind of things and wanting to rewrite it, and just so. And I actually ended up getting my degree in philosophy from university. That was a great thing that came of that.
There was one perpetuating thing too that really helped me was, I think a lot of people keep wishing for things in the future, and that was a huge shift, understanding that you need to feel it in your body now and feel like what it feels like to manifest it in this moment. If you manifest something in the future, you're just continuously and perpetually manifesting it in the future time. You can't ever be your future self. You will never be your future self. You are only who you are at this exact moment. So if you're just trying to imagine what it would feel like, you're never actually going to feel it. And so that little subtle shift in my mind, because there were so many things in my life, I'm like, one day I'll be like this. One day I'll be awesome. One day I'll have this money. No, that's never gonna, I will never meet or be my future self. I will be
Right.
only this version of me.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was
That's
a
beautiful.
huge little tiny shift that changed my reality in a very big way.
Wow, bringing
Yeah.
your future to you.
Yeah. Yeah. You just need to envision it and embody it at this exact moment, and then it will just start coming towards you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if,
The other thing I was going to mention that I remember from the cosmic teachings, Matthias was saying something about spinning. You know, we did this amazing ritual,
yeah.
you know, as if we're just one big molecule with all, you know, all the particles spinning. And but something significant about spinning, and it triggered this childhood memory of me spinning like a twirling dervish, you know. And I think it's common for kids to spin. Like we come in remembering these truths. We come in remembering we come from the stars, you know, and we want to replicate that way of being here on Earth. And so spinning is like one of the things we do, right? So I spent so much time. I'm an only child, so I spent a lot of time by myself, you know, spinning, going out on the land, you know, just, you know, actually with the soul wander thing too, I realized that was my childhood. It was like a constant, every day I would have a 4-hour soul wander, you know? So I was like tripping. I was tripping throughout my whole childhood, you know, because you get these, all again, like awesome chemicals the body produces, like DMT, just naturally, you know? So it triggered that beautiful memory when I was just spinning and spinning. And then so one of my FFS sisters, I shared this with her, and she was like, let's do it. Let's do it now. It's going to make me emotional because I was like, okay. It's like, okay. And since I've been a mom, I get a little more nauseous, you know, like I can't swing anymore in a swing set, unfortunately. Like I get nauseous. So, okay, I was a little nervous. I was like, oh, it was on my edge. But it wasn't just on my edge physically. There was more there that was coming up for me. And so we start, you know, just holding hands, leaning back. We started spinning, and she looked at my face, and she could see the worry on my face, you know, and she just said something. It's making me cry. Because it was like, again, it was like one of these moments where you feel like God is just talking to you, you know, through someone or something. And she was like, trust. And oh my God, that just struck this deep chord in my belly, and this healing moment, you know, I'm starting to cry, and we start spinning, and I let go, and we just start spinning. And that probably was one of the most healing moments for me, because I let go of so much stuff. I don't even know what half of it was letting it go. And all this joy, I was remembering joy. I was remembering that spirit of being that little girl spinning. And it was so beautiful. It was such a good moment. And then having Matthias there, I had the opportunity to go share that with him, you know, give a hug and meet him and share that story with him.
Yeah.
He was like, yeah, children remember. They remember.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that guy was a wealth of knowledge, and just also explaining that we're all magnetic beings, right? And because we're magnetic beings, that like it's important for us to live in accordance with the natural way of things, and like being in ceremony, and like understanding that we are meant to be in flow with the sun and with the moon, and like these, and not only that, but if we learn to live in accordance with these things, manifesting things becomes a lot easier too, because you're doing it at the right times and because it feels right and it is right. And so these were huge lessons. And you know too, how you're talking about like the twirling, like we're all energetic beings, and I think energy is constantly trying to move through us. And I've been like paying attention, like sometimes you ever see your leg just twitch and then you want to stop it. I've been just letting my leg twitch. I'm just like, I'm gonna let this guy go as long as it needs to go, because there's something happening down there that needs to happen. But like paying attention to it, and like realizing maybe I need to go take a walk. Maybe I need to go take some deep breaths. And a lot of times too, for me, because I essentially hold space for a living, sometimes I have to mute myself and just take some deep breaths, and just whatever's coming through, like on the phone, just letting it flow through me, but just breathing through it, and just understanding that all of that is just energy that's moving. And you know, as a kid by yourself, you probably intuitively just knew spin, twirl, this is the right thing to do. But most of us are holding it in, so it's coming out like a leg twitch, and you're just like, what's happening down there? But all you really need to do is spin around in a circle for a second. Probably feel fine.
And look at animals.
Like
Animals shake,
right?
to reset.
Exactly.
You know, horses reset by shaking. They reset their nervous system.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And there's also a school of thought that your legs are attached to your root chakra.
Yeah.
And so some things that are going on within your root chakra will show up in your, like one of the things I look for in the client, if they start shaking your leg, there's probably something safety-wise going on for them. So it just kind of can point to a question, a coactive question.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely correct.
And I'll say to them, notice your leg, but don't stop it.
Yeah, it's
Just
for
keep
sure
going.
for me. It's when I'm anxious.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's typically an anxious thing is my leg because I'm not comfortable with what's being said to me. So I feel super anxious because it's a lot to handle, and so I know that it's affecting my nervous system, and so my body's probably saying, "Get up and go."
Yeah. And root chakra
right.
It's a
safety.
natural. It's like trying to run away. It's like we don't like this.
We don't belong
And
here. Yeah.
this happens for me more often than not because a lot of conversations that I have, I'm like,
Oh, in your world, yeah.
this is not fun.
Yeah.
My body's literally like, let's go this way. Check out the
And
other
I'm
side
out.
of the room.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to, thinking about what you do and those of us that work in healing, I have to cleanse in between clients.
Yeah. What do you do to cleanse?
I will either do, I'll do Palo Santo, sage.
I need to start doing this.
Yeah. And when I was in Colombia with Sean Chester, who's friends with Aubrey, and learning about Rape or Hoppe,
Yeah.
that Rape is a very cleansing
Yeah.
medicine.
So grounding.
Yeah, it's very grounding, and so I will use Rape in between clients. And
Nice.
Yeah.
Rape is, for those who don't know, I think it's ground up tobacco.
It's the ashes
It's the ashes of tobacco.
of tobacco and any kind of herb,
Herbs, yeah.
leaves,
Okay.
roots, flowers.
And essentially, you
That's
use a
prayed
tool
over.
that's sometimes like an antler or wood, and it's blown. Either you can blow it yourself up your, it's sufflate, I think is the term, but basically it's like up your nostrils and it goes into your nasal passageways, and then it's a heart opener, and can also get you very grounded. It's also a bit of a messy experience because then you have a
Cleansing
bunch
and
of, like,
purging, yeah.
tobacco powder up your nose.
Yeah.
I've done it just in a medicine ceremony before. I don't know. Some people like do it like quite a few times. So like Jesus, I'm like I need space. I can't be around other human beings. Like too much happening. But but it's
yeah, it's the
Yeah.
ash, and that, but it's the herbs. And I think the intent of where it was created,
Right.
where
It's
it
all
comes out
made
of, there's
in
a
sacred
medicine.
ceremony with
Yeah, it's
intention,
yes.
many different intentions.
Exactly.
And you
But
don't,
it's
you
one of
can just have a little bit, you
Yeah.
know, you can sit with just a little
Yeah.
bit. So it's less of a, big experience or messy or anything.
Yeah, I guess for me, it's always been a large
In
dose 'cause
ceremony,
it was
yeah.
meant to like help me process something, and
yes.
it's very much a big heart opener, and so it will help you process stuff. And a lot of times, just tears will start flowing just
Yeah.
immediately.
And you can purge. I mean,
Yeah, for
depending
sure,
on,
yeah.
there's some,
Yeah.
there could be, my
Little
very first time there was a purge.
Yeah, it's a shortcut.
Yeah.
Straight
I-
little cheat
But
code.
yeah, so, and it's just,
Yeah,
I put space in between my clients.
Yeah.
I have to have a little bit of break because I've got to leave one and then get ready
Yeah.
to pick up the next and be present for that client, not carrying from the previous. And so, yeah, I
Gotcha.
do through a ceremony, and sometimes I'll just sit in the arena with the horse and
Yeah.
just reground. And
That's awesome. Yeah, I need to take some lessons from that because I just feel like somebody's watching me at home sometimes. Like I'll finish a phone call and then my phone starts ringing and I'm like, what the fuck? And then finish another phone call and then it just starts ringing again. It's like literally like a series of like 20 calls. And then like by the time I'm like done with the conversations, I literally can feel my body vibrating
Wow.
from like everything that I've taken. And I like feel super anxious or like shaky and I'll like have to like take a minute away from everything. And, and so, yeah, so I mean, it's true. It's because it all just transfers. And so, yeah, it transfers. Whether you're in person or on the phone, it transfers on over. And yeah. Yeah.
I have really appreciated sitting with Hoppe. It's not something I knew that I was going to, get into, but I've had some really, really deep meditations. And it's actually been one of the allies that's helped me continue my journey with Sacred Union and get to know more my inner queen, my inner king, and their relationship together.
Yeah.
creativity for me oftentimes too will flow through Hoppe. It's, I'll sometimes, and after I do Hoppe, and all of a sudden there'll be like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
downloads. It's
Yeah, I
like,
think
oh,
Hoppe and Rape are the same thing.
Yeah,
just
they are.
certain
Just depends on where-
cultures call it
Yes.
something different.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yep,
Just
where
for
it comes from.
clarification for people
Yes.
listening. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. All right. And then what about you, Katie? What are
Yeah.
some of your big takeaways?
I think it's so difficult to like.
I
pick the
know.
highlights.
I know. I
I
know.
think the
I mean, the things they've been talking about have been hitting some of the things that I wanted to
For
talk about too.
sure.
So like, it's yeah. 'Cause I
The,
wanted.
And I
you
forgot
to-
breath
yeah.
work
There's-
too.
Yeah.
That was
We
the
could get-
that was
oh,
the
yeah. We
last
can
thing I
definitely
wanted
talk about
to,
breath
to
work,
talk
but-
about.
I think for me, like the themes hit home so
Sorry,
deeply of the
didn't cut you off
the
there.
song of the self and the song of the tribe and the song of the cosmos. I was like, that was very much in alignment with what was coming through me. But I think I think
And for those of you that don't know, that each summit was like had like that term,
theme.
like that a theme, and those were the things that we focused on, was like Song of the Tribe, Song of the Cosmos, and so that's why we keep bringing up those terms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the Song of the Self, it was just so big for me to be like, Katie, what is your truth? Like, how do you want to show up in the world? Like, what is your art? What are you here to wake up in other people, in service? And like, it was just such a wake up call that like has changed my life. So that first summit definitely just, I don't know, I just have this like deep, I will keep this with me forever, of just like, my assignment in this life is to be the most Katie you have ever met, ever. And that is like in the clothes that I wear, in the language I use, in the books I read, in the way that I dance, in the like, in the loudness of my like that is my assignment. And like
Katie,
you have ever met. You have ever
that.
met.
Yeah.
And I want to inspire like you to be the most Scarlet, and you to be the most, and like when I see anything less than that, absolutely not. Like I want to like wake up the beast in you.
Yes.
So that's very alive in me. And then I just think the other two things is it's like what you touched on of like I met my people. Like I have, and I'll get emotional right now, but like my like Sage House, like Cowboy, Megan, Thomas, Joel, Amy, Dylan, like I found my people, and like I will go so hard in the paint for every one of them. And like we're going to be doing like these bead exchanges that we've talked about, right? And like it's just like it is these people, they're my people, and like they changed me, and I feel so loved by them, and like I love them till the end. And like what a gift, And then I guess lastly, like I'm just really, really motivated in Long Beach to create this. And like we've already done a lot of things. Like we've had like circling parties at my home, and like we're like, cold plunging in the bay and like doing breath work on the sand, and like we're doing these things. And I just this year's changed me so much. I'm just really, really inspired to bring more of it into my daily life. So it's not just a summit you go to and you're pumped up for a couple weeks after. Like I want this to be like in every fiber of my being and in all my relationships.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, I'm thinking back to, again, like 2018, 19, 2020, and feeling so lonely, so alone. Like I didn't have Soul Tribe. And so I'm thinking, you're reminding me that time of planting that seed and that desire to find you guys, and in the flesh, because it started a little bit online, in the container, but it's like the time has arrived. We've met in person, and now here we are. Yeah. So special. It's so special.
Yeah, but like anything too, it takes time and effort, and that's something that I noticed that between events, I wasn't doing a great job of like staying in touch with people. And so like any relationship, you have to water it, and you have to continuously like reach out and make sure that you're keeping those connections. And I mean, I hope most people continue with Fit for Service, but who knows? And then with those relationships, you'll still have to put a lot more time and effort to keep them going too. Yeah.
Well, I have to applaud this group because I've heard of other groups, other foursomes from out of that they've reached out and not heard anything. Like they've completely fallen by the wayside. So for the 9 of clubs,
nice
to
job,
show
you
up,
guys.
and
like,
show up and follow through. And
we had to. I mean, there wasn't a doubt.
No, there wasn't a doubt.
We weren't going to follow through.
No.
This was just very easy for me. You guys flew here and you led this whole charge. So like I bow to all three of you, like honestly, for making it happen.
It was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It was good.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah. I think 2 things are coming through for me. One is the breath work after you brought it up. I didn't realize how, for any of you who have never done actual breath work, I would consider actual breath work anything longer than like, anything that's an hour, I would say is like an actual breath work session. I didn't realize how out of whack I was until after the first breath work that we did at the very first event. And I just like reset my nervous system, and I like felt more relaxed than I'd felt in like months on end. And then I started to notice after, like, I was so looking forward to each summit because of the breath work, because it literally was resetting me as a human being. Because like I will, when I'm doing it, going full T-Rex arms, like I'm everything from screaming to crying, just like I'm letting out all the stuff that's coming through. And like the breath work that we're doing, for those of you that are unfamiliar, it goes in waves. It's like slower, faster. Like it literally, like it's a journey. You get to the peak and then you go down, and then like on the way up there's a lot of yelling and screaming, and then there's like crying. But like, I know this all sounds crazy for anyone who might not be familiar with breath work, but it's really just a release of whatever needs to be released. It can be screaming, it can be crying, it could also be silent, it could just be the breath. And sometimes, like, if you're breathing hard enough, or if you have a lot of stagnant energy, like you literally, your arms when you're breathing out will start to curl, and you like
Tetany.
like almost like, yeah, they call them T-Rex arms. And like I remember even at like the Sedona summit, my feet started to do it too. And then like after it all releases, you can feel like this like energetic flow releasing through your fingertips and releasing through your toes, and then like it just like feels like this whole shift, and like I almost feel my cells vibrating,
Yes.
and my like blood vessels, like everything's kind of like dilated, and like everything's just like literally resetting. Like I'm pressing literally the fucking hard reset button on my life, but more on a biological level. And then afterwards I just feel awesome.
Yes.
And so
I would agree.
like I would join Fit for Service again just for the hard
For the breath
resets
work.
that I get every quarter, because what I've realized is when I leave those events, I feel great, and I'm willing, like happy to hold space and talk to others and like share what I learned. But when I get there, sometimes I'm like agitated and I'm like off kilter. And then until we do the breath work, I don't even feel like myself. And then finally I feel relaxed and like back at place. So for me, the breathwork has been huge, and I'm pretty sure that we have the best breathwork facilitators in the world,
Yeah.
literally at each one of these events. And I remember too, Blue said something where, you know, like for anybody maybe listening to this podcast, when you're hearing me talk about the yelling and the screaming and the crying, and you might be judging me, and you might be like, what a weirdo, or what the heck is going on with this person?
gotta be a
Why is he
cult.
screaming? He's yelling. It's got to be a cult. But like more so, it's like she brought a point. She's like, that person that you're hearing yelling and screaming that you're judging right now, they might be healing for you, and they might be processing something for you, and they might be releasing something that you're going through. And for me, when I'm screaming and yelling during these things, I'm letting go of all my clients' shit. I'm letting go of all their stresses. I'm letting go of all the stuff that they dump on me. And I'm like, that's in me and it has to go. And this is how it's going to go. And it's me literally helping them heal, because I'm not giving it to somebody else. I'm keeping it, and now I'm letting it out into the ether, however it needs to go. And so like, those have been hugely beneficial. And I don't know if you guys have had similar experiences with the breathworks, but it's changed my life for sure.
The Austin, Texas breathwork was a beautiful psychedelic journey.
Yeah.
For me, I saw colors, and it was a phenomenal journey. It was just beautiful.
Aubrey's playlist for that was
Yeah.
nuts.
It was
Yeah.
killer.
They have those playlists, by the way, online. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
They have all their
Amazing.
playlists. They
Really
share
cool.
them openly. I found them. I'm just like, these are sick.
Yeah. The Sedona breathwork
Yeah.
got into places that I did not see coming.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I absolutely did not see
Yeah.
coming. I ended up doing some releasing from the sexual assault that I felt pretty convinced I've done a ton of work around that over many, many years.
Yeah.
There was still yet another release that came out of that session that I did not see coming.
Yeah.
And to be held in the space, and I'm going to forget his name right now. He's one of the instructors. He was sitting way over on the left.
Jagger?
Say it again.
Is it Jagger?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I never got a chance. So if you're hearing this, please know that I'm saying with a huge amount of gratitude, thank you, because he came over, and for however he knew what was there.
Yeah.
I don't know how he knew what was coming, and he was just spot on. And I got to release. Thankfully, the music was super loud at that point, because I've never ever screamed that loud.
My God.
Ever.
Yeah, the
So it was
screams.
and again, didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
but yeah, it was incredible. So if you've never experienced breathwork as a healing modality,
Yeah.
it's a phenomenal, powerful healing modality.
Yeah.
And holotropic breath work, it's work. Like you have to like get
work.
after it. Yeah, but it's worth it.
Every time I've
beautiful.
approached it, there's like, I have resistance. It
Yeah.
is hard. It is one of the hardest things that I've ever done. And then every time also after we're on the other side and coming out, my feeling is just like, you guys, we did it. I'm so
Yeah.
proud. I'm like,
Yeah.
we did it. We fucking did it again. It like blows my mind that we actually did it again.
Yeah.
Because it is huge. It's such a journey.
So the breath holds in
Yeah.
that when I first started doing breath work,
Yeah.
those were a massive trigger.
Yeah. That's
Because-
when I got triggered.
That's my drowning,
oh my God.
holding my breath and
my
holding it until you die.
Yeah.
And so I had really short windows in the beginning of not being able to, I couldn't hold my breath long. I did a breathwork session, participated in a breathwork session at home. I'm up to 3 minutes of being able to hold my
Nice.
breath
Wow.
in the breath holds.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's getting through the trigger. That's also another way that I'm healing the trigger from the drowning.
Yeah.
So, or near drowning is to
Yeah.
be technical. But yeah.
Yeah.
So the breath work is huge.
We were so ready for it
Mm-hmm.
in Sedona.
Yeah.
The releasing started happening before we even started.
Yeah.
Like before maybe the music had started, you know, but we weren't guided
Yeah.
to like start breathing and doing
Yeah.
anything. It's like, man, we are ready. We are ready and so willing to just
So cool.
release.
Yeah, I think that was a heavy week. That was when the Israel and Palestine
Yes, it
stuff had
was.
started. And so for me, it's super heavy because I'm Palestinian. And so I have family that lives in Jerusalem and lives in the West Bank. And thank God none of our family lives in Gaza because that would be an absolute horrific nightmare. And so I know like towards the end when we were like winding down and then we did the breath hold, I just started like weeping like a child because it's been like so heavy just like talking to family and stuff over there and like dealing with like just seeing the social media and just being like on one end of it. And then like even like I posted like this one post just literally what Aubrey's position is. It's just like I'm on the side of life just asking for peace from it all. And then I got attacked by like colleagues and like people getting called a terrorist and like all this stuff.
Wow.
And literally all I said is that I don't want any death. And so basically like being super emotional from that. And I just remember like, man, I was so thankful for Vailana. If you guys don't know who Vailana is, that's Aubrey's wife, and she has the voice of an angel, and she literally reaches like frequencies with like her voice that are like God frequencies, for lack of a better term, because she reaches those high pitches, and she just came over and started to sing over me and just like holding space for me for like 20 minutes as I was like literally I couldn't even like hold back the tears. It was just like literally flowing nonstop. And she just like literally I just felt like enveloped like somewhat like almost like a mother's love, just like holding space over me. And it literally just helped me like to reset, to calm and like get back to like homeostasis. And so she was a beautiful, beautiful part of that process.
I'd forgotten until you
Yeah.
said that. She did that to me too.
Yeah. And then
Oh,
like
man, yeah.
too, like you brought up like there was certain things like this kind of gets me to like my next point of like one of the biggest takeaways for me was like after Vailana had like helped me like let go of this, which was like obviously something very much on the forefront, like something came up of like these layers of like okay, so I think I have to take a step back. Okay. So Eric Godsey's talk, which was Eric Godsey gave a talk about if you have an emotionally triggered conversation that you need to have with somebody in your life at this time. And he gave us a format to have these emotionally triggered conversations. And I believe the format was like, let's say that you're in a fight with a family member, brother, sister, mom, dad, or just a friend or something that's emotionally charged that needs to be had. And so the format is to like just first of all emotionally let out the conversation, just whatever raw emotions need to come out. Then step 2 was what are the facts? I think it is what it was. And then you talk about what the facts are. Then step 3 is what is the story that you're telling yourselves and what is the story that you're each discussing. Step 4 is how does this feel in my body? And then discussing how it feels in your body. Step 5 is what do you want from the other person? And then step 6 is thanking them for allowing you to have this conversation. And so he then said this quote, which was, you can't see the big picture until you remove the grief that is right in front of your eyes. And that is what triggered me in that moment, realizing that like I can't help other people and I can't solve other people's problems and assist them if I don't start by fixing the things that are in front of my own eyes. And so I had just come into the week on this super big high after settling that $6 million case, and I was feeling great. And then my brother and I brought up this childhood trauma that I had caused to him. And essentially, like at a younger age, I had basically gotten violent with him as a child. And like I was like 21, he was like 19, but I gotten violent with him over something. And I thought I was doing what was best for him. And I didn't realize that I had literally scared him away from hanging out with our family for the better part of like 10 years. And he had literally avoided being around us, being at family events. And like, because, and like, I thought I was doing what was best for him. But long story short is that I ended up like basically imposing my selfish attitude and behaviors at that age. And I ended up causing him severe issues for many years. And I had not fully addressed the fact that of how I made him felt. And so something came up where he was speaking to like a family member, and then this like what I did to him came up again. And me and him have spent the last couple of years healing. We're in a really good place. And so he then went ahead and did some really spiteful things towards me. And so what ended up happening is we then had this charged conversation. And so I ended up talking to my sister. My sister then ends up being like, I'm going to talk to my brother. And then the next day we did the soul wander. The soul wander basically like just took me on this journey where I was just realizing all these other conversations with other people in my life that I had not had. And there were these emotionally charged conversations that's just like stagnant karmic energy. And I just started writing this list in my head of all these people I needed to call, like as soon as I got out of this event. And so basically by like this one conversation being triggered with my brother, it led to a conversation with my sister, it led to a conversation with my cousin, it led to a conversation with one of my old best friends, led to a conversation with somebody from high school, led to like a conversation with like just a friend that I'd heard in the past, and just and then 2 conversations with 2 ex-girlfriends. And basically like just by like having this conversation and what Eric brought up about you needing to wash the things that are right in front of your eyes. But also, I didn't see these things until they got brought up to me when I got to this point in my healing journey. And so we were at Ecstatic Dance, and I literally was like in the back, not having a good time because I just saw all these conversations that I needed to have. And I left in the middle of the Ecstatic Dance, and I was on the phone till 4 a.m. calling people, literally talking to them about stuff from when I was a kid. But like for the first time in my life, really understanding and feeling what I did to them and how I hurt them, and not just saying sorry because it's the right thing to do, but saying sorry because I actually felt what I did to them and how I made them feel and what are the things that I did. And instead of asking them like what they can do for me and during the conversation, I asked them, what can I do to help heal this relationship? And like with my sister, like a big thing was like, I've been bullying my parents recently because I want them to be healthier and eat better and all this stuff. She's like, I want you to stop doing that, like as an example. And then like, so I washed stuff with my sister, my brother, my friends, and like, you know, I probably too was really hard on myself, which I think many of us can be. And they were like, Joe, it wasn't all that bad, but we really appreciate the conversations. And I recommend to everyone to do this, but to understand one thing. If you're going to open the door to someone to like wash these karmas, you're also opening the door to whatever else is going to come through that door. And so a lot of shit that I didn't remember that I did and things that I did that were really bad just also came through that door at that exact moment. And so you have to be open and receptive to whatever is going to come through that door if you're going to open it. And also, someone might not let you open that door, because I did have one person say, no, I don't want to have this conversation. And that's also okay too. So it was like this huge washing of karmas and just like apologizing and like saying goodbye and like just basically like, you know, talking about things that were from when I was a kid, when I was unconscious. And it was a very painful process, but it was probably one of the most beautiful experiences, just also letting those things go. And when I was like finishing up the breath work, 4 more people that I needed to talk to came up in my mind that I never even thought of. And then I called them out of nowhere, and they're like, dude, I don't even know why you are calling me about this, but I really appreciate you calling to talk to me about this. And like kind of like breaking their minds and like just like huge nods to like them. And then they're like, you know what, and then one person was like, I have some people I need to call now. And so like even just like triggering them to like be able to reach out to others.
Again, how do you change the world? Show up as an example.
And you made all of those calls at Summit, like a day or 2 after you learned the freaking exercise?
Yeah, just immediately. I mean, that's how I've always been. Somebody's like teaches me something, I'm like, how do I do it now? Why did I learn it if I'm not going to do it right now? That's the whole purpose. And so I've just immediately applied it. And I mean, dude, the hardest one of them was like my best friend from high school. I was shameless. I ended up hooking up with like his ex-girlfriend. It was like the one rule we never had. And like I hadn't spoken to him like since we were like 18, 19 years old, since it happened. And this guy's an angel. And he's like, look, Joe, I already forgave you years ago. I'm proud of you for finally growing up, but also like explaining to me that he'd never been betrayed so badly in his entire life. And still to this day, it was the greatest betrayal of his life. And like just also going down the road of realizing like I didn't trust myself with guys, and I didn't have a best guy friend for like 6 years because I was too scared of doing the same thing to him. And so like you also realizing like why I'm so loyal and why I don't cross those boundaries now, like as an adult, like I had to go through whatever I did at that time, and you know it was painful and it hurt, but everything happens exactly for a reason to help you become who you need to be. Yeah.
Ooh,
Joe,
I'm
you are so beautiful.
Glad
I
you
agree.
shared that. Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I appreciate
You're
that.
a good human.
Yeah, thanks guys. I appreciate the
Yeah.
compliments. Yeah, and I receive that
Honored.
with an open heart, because that's also been part of my journey, is just receiving compliments when they come and allowing that to sit. And so that
Very
was
grateful.
a huge takeaway for me. And
Wow.
God bless Eric Godsey.
Yes.
He definitely changed my life, and I shared that story with him. And
Oh, good.
yeah, and you know that's like also part of the journey, is like I think we put these coaches up higher, but he was like, Joe, I appreciate the story, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to share this. And I was like, please share.
Yeah.
Because I think that's something that I think coaches probably wonder, is whether people are actually putting into action what they're learning and not understanding that it was exactly what I needed to hear at that exact moment. And that was like the most important thing he could have done for me, was literally giving me this and then helping me heal with like my brother and sister with wounds that I didn't even know I needed to heal with them still. And also
Yeah.
just like, there's
They-
so many
yeah.
realizations.
They
from
need that feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They
Yeah.
deserve that feedback.
They deserve that feedback,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feeds
Dude.
them.
Yeah, the coaches are great. I mean, I'm starting peptides and like all this other stuff because of Kyle this week. So I'm getting on that regime. I mean, there's so much that each one of these coaches had to offer and teach us. And once again, thank you to all of you. If any of you end up listening to this podcast,
we thank you.
Yeah, we thank you.
Yes,
Yeah, we
yes.
appreciate you.
Aw.
God
The
bless
ripple.
you. Yeah,
Right? The ripple.
yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Do you guys have any thoughts on that or anything else you'd like to add? No?
I mean, more stories are like coming up, you know. I'll share a couple more things.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
For the breath work, so much of the Sedona summit was heart opening, like unlocking more and more doors to my heart. So that breath work, and we were talking about how the body just, you know, intuitively knows how to move and heal and shake. That breath work, before I knew it, I was in a full-on back bend. That had never happened before, like a deep, full back bend, still doing the breath work, you know? So that was incredible. And thinking back to the first time I did breath work with Fit for Service, it was a rebirthing. Like I actually went through my birth, you know, coming here. And that was a big healing. And I had some of my uncles and grandparents, you know, visit me during that. It was very, you know, like thin veil visitors from my ancestors, which was really such a gift. And then, let's see, fast forward to, there's one last thing I wanted to share with you guys. The breath work, the heart opening. The ecstatic dance in Lockhart. Aubrey was talking us through what were the stages?
tragic.
Yes.
Yep.
I had a really unexpected big ego death, like a death portal opened up. And it was when we were supposed to be on the other side. It was supposed to be like post tragic, but something he said just struck a chord. And I'm connecting that right now to that rebirthing experience that I had, where there must have been something in me. I played around with the theory that possibly, because my mom had an abortion before me, I played around with the theory of maybe that was me, you know, coming and bouncing out just as I'm like watching certain patterns and healing stuff and healing that I've done around my own birth. And so there was something about me coming and bouncing out or not wanting to come, and that totally came up during that ecstatic dance in Lockhart. And it was just this like not wanting to come or questioning why I came. It was really, really deep touching into that, and the opportunity to grieve and move through that and let that go. And that was my first summit this year. And of course, like I had a brother and a sister come and just be there and catch me and hold me through that. That experience was very unexpected and very profound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's just when you say that, what comes up for me is just like understanding that all the feelings that you're feeling are perfectly valid and no one can tell you how to feel. And, you know, you're entitled to feel exactly the way you want to feel. But then what you do about it, that's the thing that I think is the most important. But feeling all the emotions and letting them flow through you, even though it might not make sense sometimes, and just allowing it is perfectly okay. Just, you know, figuring out the next steps can be difficult.
Yeah. It's all part of this, you know, what's unfolding, and being able to be capable of like being here. Like it's, you know, finally choosing like, okay, cool. I choose to be here. Like, okay, yes, like I will stay, I'll be seen, I'll show up, I'll do the work, you know, more and more. Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go.
That's cool.
Yeah, I choose.
Yeah. All right, nines.
Amazing.
This was awesome.
I love you,
I love you guys too.
This is so
And
Aw,
also
so
too,
good.
I just wanted to bring up too one thing. Like this was a good conversation in the sense that we're 4 people speaking at the same time, and there was like some awesome workshops that were led throughout the Aubrey Markets, like Fit for Service, which were like teaching us how like sometimes there's somebody who'll propose an idea, then there'll be someone who like is able to repeat back that idea, then there's somebody who's a vibe checker who's like listening in. But even though there's 4 of us in this conversation, no one's speaking over each other, everyone gives everyone an opportunity to elaborate and to finish. And this is also like a lesson for anybody listening, is like listen with 2 ears and speak with 1 mouth, and allow people to finish their thoughts and don't cut them off, right? And the only reason you're cutting them off is because you're just thinking about what you're going to say and you're not actually listening to what the person is saying in front of you. So give them an opportunity to elaborate. And even for me, this is a constant practice because I'm, of course, trying to think of what I'm going to say and what I'm going to ask. But then sometimes I'll just take a step back and be like, what I'm about to say doesn't matter. Let this person finish, hear what they're going to say in totality, and then ask your question, because it might be a completely different question, but if I'm holding that thought, I'm not really being present for what's being said in front of me. So this was a good example. You guys all did a great job. This was fun.
I love that you point that out.
Yeah.
That's a constant practice, being in the present moment and
Listen to understand
Listen.
rather than listen to respond.
Yeah, listen to understand instead of listen to respond. Cool. All right.
I love you guys. I appreciate you all.
Yeah.
What a joy.
Yeah.
What a joy.
Yeah, I know. Are you guys? If you guys are okay with people reaching out to you, we'll
Please
put it
do.
on the
Yeah,
summary for people to reach out.
Please
We
do.
have your contact info, and yeah. All right, we're signing out. All right, peace out, Girl
All
Scout.
right.
Cool. All right. Bravo.
Is that 4 hours?
That was long.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
cool.
4:02.
Exactly.
Whoa.
How are you guys over there? You guys okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I just need to
Oh,
do a
good.
short summary. It'll take 1 second. Yeah, please go pee
Yeah.
while I do that.
Yeah.
If you guys want to do that, that'll be great.
Okay, hold it. Oh,
Oh, it feels good to see.
yes.
Michelle's getting some
Yeah.
work done.
Yes, she needed to get a couple things.
Okay.
There was an acting
Yeah,
exercise.
perfect.
That was I'll tell you.
Okay.
No, you guys
Oh
are
my
fine.
gosh,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
legs.
Let me just do this summary. The summary will take less than a minute, but if you want to step outside so I can